Electric slide into the devil doors of life. Things are changing and it ain't the way I like. On the replay, wish I could get a replay. Don't mean to hold ya, but I wanna do over. Gas up the ship, shoot me a text and let me know when it is time. I wanna get off, I wanna get off. One star, would not recommend that we go far from here. I wanna get off, I wanna get off. A music podcast for the culture, Wild Wild Thoughts.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wild Wild Thoughts. We have a great show on the horizon today, man. We got my guy from way back, Prince Angeles. Dope producer, dope writer, dope arranger, dope artist overall, and just a good guy to know, good guy to to have in the chamber. You know what I mean? Thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, bro. I love that intro too. That intro is fire.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we got some new music dropping soon. You know what I mean? So that's a bit of what it's gonna feel like. I said, you know how me and you was talking off camera about how who's gonna make the music, like we feel like who's gonna make the music for that generation that like that funk, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, somebody got to do it.
You know what I'm saying? George Clinton about to retire, you know what I'm saying? So that's the mode that I'm going for, you know what I mean? But you got some new music on the horizon. So, before we get into all this heavy stuff, man, tell us about what you got going on. Tell us about this new music you got popping.
Oh man, I just wrapped up a project titled Hawthorne. It's a place that I grew up in. I went to Hawthorne High. The gist of the project, I just kind of wanted to tap into experiences that I may have experienced while living there. Being from that place, things I've seen, so it's a very, it's actually a 3-part project. It's going to be 3 parts to it. I do have the first single coming this Friday, so I'm excited about that. And nice. I worked hard on it, man. You know how the project process could be. You know what I mean? Sometimes you outgrow it while you're doing it, then you got to bring yourself back. Then you start liking other sounds and other things. You know what I mean? So sometimes it could be a tedious process, especially getting to the end of it. You know what I mean? It's like, arranging and which songs I'm gonna use and things like that. So I'm excited, man, to finally reach the point of, I'm ready to release. You know what I mean? I'm ready to go, bro.
Well, let me. I was gonna say I've been lucky enough for you. You sent me a couple of previews, throughout this process as you've been working on it, and I've kind of got to watch you like work your way through what it was gonna be like, what this album was gonna sound like. We talked a few different times, even before you started this project. Me and you were talking about, what it would feel like and how you want it to feel like. And I will say, I tell people all the time when I'm talking to new artists, I say the hardest thing as an artist is to make the things in your head come out exactly that way when you're doing a record without compromising the in-between, right?
Yeah.
But from what me and you spoke of and what I've heard, I feel like you did a really good job of getting what you had described to me in your head down on wax, as we say, you know what I mean? And I think this is a very grown-up, introspective, dope album, you know what I mean? And I think it's what's needed. You know what I mean? Especially for like people, like you say, from Hawthorne, people from around our way, because it's like that nostalgic, and we'll connect to it. We'll connect to the things that you're talking about, because so many of us have had a shared experience being from LA. Like, it's so funny if you could tell if somebody's really from LA when you say certain things, and if they don't catch on, you like, you from the IE.
You from the valley.
You from the valley. You know what I'm saying? Because we have there's very shared LA experiences. When I say LA, I mean LA, Compton, Inglewood, Watts. You know what I mean? But it's a very shared LA experience, and I feel like you were able to tap into that in this record. So tell me, what made you switch from, like you said, what you were doing was like, in your mind, from what we said, it felt like a little more surface level music, to what you're doing now, where you diving deep and really telling us about your feelings and real stuff about what you're going through with your family and your emotions, even, and expressing all that. Like, tell me how you got from like, oh, I'm making surface level music to like, all right, I'm about to dig deep.
I would say I just became more confident. Um, just going through life. I've been working on this project for about a year, so of course I've had experiences while creating this project, you know. And there was a point in time like when I started it, I couldn't write about certain things. You know what I mean? It was tough for me. And within the last few months, I don't know, it just started coming out of me, bro. Like I always say that like music is my therapy. You know what I mean? It's an outlet for me as well. So these last few months, I just got to a point to where a place where it was just like it's time for me to release these things. You know what I mean? These things that I've been either thinking about, going through, things that I went through in the past. You know, people need to I believe people need to see artists' vulnerability. You know what I mean? In order to connect, they don't need to see a person who's like so high and big up here. You know that places that they haven't been. Like, let's say an
Right,
artist like a who's a big artist, Drake or whatever, right? Drake
right.
is so high up here, like your average person can't really relate to some of the things he talks about. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't got that kind of money. Like, I can't, you know what
Right.
I mean? So I feel like it's important to show those sides, those different sides. You know what I mean? Like, the fun music is the fun music, that's fine, but you know, we have real life, like we talked, off air. Like, real life is happening every day, by the minute, by the moment. You know what I mean? And I feel like as an artist, it's my responsibility to put those things on wax. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, I commend you for going there and showing your vulnerability. And I know you have been through a lot lately, but it seems like you've been able to put it into the music. It's kind of helped you deal with it. It's
Yeah.
kind of helped you feel like, because when you do that, you feel like, well, maybe what I'm dealing with can help somebody else when they hear how I've been able to do and how I've been able to deal with it. So, I commend you for that, Prince, man. And like I said, it's so good to have you on.
Thanks for
Um,
having me, bro.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I want to talk about too, I know about maybe 3 weeks ago, there was like a blood walk, and a lot of the Bloods had got together for a ceasefire and a truce. And then I think just this weekend that passed, you had the hundreds, the 60s, the A trays, neighborhoods, the Hoovers, like the biggest of the enemies in the church, talking about they really wanted to, get a real ceasefire going this time. And for those who don't remember, like we do, I'm showing my age, but in '92 we had a truce, man. And let me tell you, when that truce, the streets felt so light, like for that point in time where the truce was happening. And for those of you who don't know, the police basically ended the truce, and we found out years later. So just give you a little bit of history. There was a truce. All the neighborhoods were getting along. I'm talking about they were having picnics, blue and
Yep.
red racks,
Softball games.
softball games. And I guess that was bad for business. To
Mm.
who bad for business. And the police took a well-known gang member's car out of impound and started doing drive-bys with his car.
Mm.
So people was like, "Oh, and that was such and such. The truce is off." And then it's been hell on earth ever since. Just so y'all know, like that's what happened to end the '92 truce. It wasn't even nothing that happened with the gang because they was actually sticking to it. It was like outside forces, which has happened so many times. When you go all the way back to Black Wall Street, when black folks are really trying to get unified and get together, something like that happened. So it's unfortunate that it took this long, but I'm glad we get into a place where guys starting to feel like, yo, enough is enough. I just lost a classmate of mine to some foolishness, and he wasn't banging, just got caught in the crossfire. Young kid who grew up on my block, he got killed. He was just a kid that goes to work, play video games, got caught up in some crossfire. So I think it's more
Time.
than time, for that. So, and I know me and you was kind of talking about it, Prince. I said I think it can happen, but the issue is a lot of these youngsters don't even respect their OGs no more.
Yeah.
So how do you think they can walk this tightrope and figure that out? Because I know one of the guys was saying, one of the videos you sent me when I'm watching, he was like, kind of pissed because he was like, they talking about, well, we got to talk to the shooters. Like, y'all ain't even got control over y'all own cats. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so what do you think are the things that or steps that need to be taken to try to make sure that this thing sticks?
Man, that's a big one right there. I think it's just gonna take time. Um, I don't know, bro. To be honest with you, I think this time around from back in 1992, I think we're a lot more wiser this time. Um, but it's like one of the guys said, like when I was younger, and I probably would have been thinking the same way. I probably would have been like, ain't no truce, ain't no none of that. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
But you get older, and then you start to realize, like, man, like what was all this for? You know what I mean? I think one of the things that needs to be done is just creating more opportunities for the youngsters to be involved in other things. Like there's a lot of idle time in the streets. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like a
yeah,
lot of dudes don't have jobs, can't get jobs because they're in the system. You know what I mean? So it's hard. Like they wake up and then it's like, what we gonna do? I'm
right,
bored. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, let's go slide on some ops. Like it's that idle time. So if
yeah,
we can figure out a way to fill that, you know what I mean, that idle time with something productive, I think that can help a lot as well. And I think it depends on like also the real OGs, like the ones that are truly, truly respected. It was something that someone said to me that really stuck out to me too. A lot of these OGs that are on the grid program that are being paid to kind of police the neighborhood. You know what I mean? You think they want to give up that salary?
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like for a lot of them, that's how they eat. That's how they feed their family and things like that. So it's tricky in that area too, because I'm sure some out there that kind of still want it to be a
Yeah,
little of what it is. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
'Cause
For
that
that
little
purpose.
that little funk keep them bread in their pocket.
Exactly.
You know what I
So
mean?
that's an issue to address as well. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
and we read this comment from Ron. Ron said, "Y'all must have seen Young Ant's post. I think that's one of the ones you sent me, ain't it?"
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
He said was watching his new one when this came on. It's time though. Shit's played out. We must come together, get to the point we can stop the gentrification. Yeah, because everything is about to swallow black folks up. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
and you know what, young Ant, he said in another post that made so much sense to me. He's like, we're starting to lose the community. Like,
Yeah,
black folks are moving out of the community, and a lot of people are dying, like they're being killed. And then other cultures are moving in. She's like, sooner or later, what are we gonna have? That block
right.
that you're fighting for, what it's not gonna even, you know what I
It'll be
mean?
yours no more. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So
Ron said the trade schools need these young dudes, not the jails and the cemetery. I'm glad you brought that up,
mm,
Ron. 'Cause, me and my pops was talking about that. They took the trades out of the schools because they used to have a mechanics club. They used to have a
yep.
computer lab. Like there was a bunch of stuff that you could do that you could like go straight into after high school without even going to college and get a real good job. And I don't know if y'all remember back when I was in high school. I know it's changed now, but there was like an AT&T program. They would come get a bunch of the girls, have them come work for AT&T. And what's crazy is some of them girls are now retiring.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
at 45, 46, they retiring because they started working at AT&T like straight out of high school when they were
Mm,
like 17, 18. So they put their years in and now they starting to retire. So but those
yeah.
programs are all gone. And like like with the mechanic program, a lot of dudes who were street dudes like to fix cars. And
Exactly.
they was in there all the time. So they wasn't in the streets. They up there fixing cars till 9, 10 o'clock at night with Candler, with Mr. Hood. Like we remember those guys, who were like kind of like mentors,
Yeah.
to these young dudes. So we've been losing mentors, we've been losing programs. The music programs are damn near gone, which has saved a whole lot of lives. Like so a lot of the stuff that was put in place to keep us out of the streets is gone, and it's kind of
Um,
not being replaced with anything or anybody. So a
yeah.
lot of these kids are super misguided, and that goes back to even what we were talking about with some of these kids not even respecting the OGs because they don't even feel connected to it because they doing it for totally different reasons, and they have a, you know what I'm saying, they have a different vibe for why they're doing it. Let me
I
see.
have a
Ron,
theory on that too, but I'll let you.
Ron said electrical, plumbing, carpenters, iron workers, pipe fitters. There are plenty of trades, and the older generations are cycling out, so the need is there 100%. But yeah, let me hear your theory, Prince.
I have a theory on that too. Like, think about it. A lot of these OGs spent time in prison. They've been there for a long time. So like you got the younger generation that comes up, they don't have nobody to give them the game, to show them the ropes or tell them the right way to go about things, you know. So they start going throughout life, you know, trial and error,
Yeah,
doing these things, you know what I mean, and getting in these situations and things like that. So then the OG gets out, you know what I mean? He comes back to the neighborhood and it's like, who is you? It's
yep,
like, yeah, I heard about you, but like you ain't out here active and you ain't not, you know, it's that kind of energy.
yep,
You know what I mean? It's almost like a fatherless child in a sense. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yep, yep. Devon said the kids just want to be on social media and don't even want to play sports for those schools that still have sports programs. Yeah, that's true. That's
For
true
clout.
too.
Game banging for clout.
Yeah, and my
That's
pop said these kids is living like the video life. What up, Rex? Yeah,
what
he
up,
said
what
he.
What's
up?
going on? What's going on?
Yeah, you see, my pop said these kids living the video game I told him, I said it's easy to get caught up in that because I remember we was playing GTA so much.
Man.
When you go outside, you forget like I can't just run into somebody else's car when you really get the car. Y'all remember that? Remember we was on GTA so tough?
I can't just fly off the freeway right now and
Yeah.
land like facts.
So you think about that too, because I was like, I really remember I was like, bro, I had to really disconnect between the video game because we was on GTA so hard that when you go in real life, like, bro, you can't get 5 stars in real life and live. Like,
Right, man. And think about that, like to a person who has like some sort of mental challenge. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like
hard to
the
separate.
effect of that is great on a person that's having those type of challenges. And we know that, you know, these things exist in the neighborhood. Like there's trauma, there's all types of things. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, bro, like I think a lot of it has to do with fear as well. You know, if I put my flag down and I start living a normal life, will I, you know, risk losing my life because I'm not on it like I used to be?
Well,
Type
that and also just the loss of that identity, right? Because
right.
so much of a lot of gang members' identity is wrapped up in the gang. Almost
Yeah.
like if you strip away them being a gang member, who are they? What's their personality? What can they do? What would their life look like? And I know that's probably
Man,
terrifying as well. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? It's terrifying to have that thought, like, okay, what am I without this gang? What am I without this life looking like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's a transition that I think just people in general have to go through. You know what I mean? You look at athletes, you look at, you know, musicians, you look at, you know, whatever. You know, it comes a point in time where it's like, dang, maybe I can't do this like I used to do it no more.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So what is my life after this? Like, what do I have to find something else to fall in love with?
yeah. And
I
also
mean,
some of this is the like my pops was saying, some of this is like we seeing the ending of a couple of generations that have been raised by grandparents and not by their parents. So
mm,
you get a lot of dropping the ball there because the grandparents is tired. They ain't got the energy to be chasing after these young kids like that. You know what I mean? Like so there's like this whole gap of lost kids
yeah,
that are parents now. You know
mm,
what I mean? Like that 89, 90 to like that 89 to 99 generation, a lot of them was raised by their grandparents.
facts.
So they have a whole different set of like morals and a different moral code than those who were before us who were actually raised by their parents. Because as much as your grandparents can try to raise you, it's not the same
Nope.
as being raised by your parents. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's a different thing. And we got a whole generation of that. Like I said, from the 89 and 99 generation, you had a whole bunch of them. So now it's like there's a gap there. There's a gap within the teaching. There's a gap within the kids learning. There's a gap with the respect factor. There's a gap, you know what I mean? Because like there's such a miss in between there. You know what I mean? But the mindset, just like someone who's been in jail since a teenager, all they know and don't know how to function without that element. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you like, so it's a lot of factors, but I'm praying that they can figure it out, but also some resources can be there for them,
Right.
because they're going to need resources to help them to survive in the real world. They're going to need some resources. A lot of these dudes need therapy. You killed somebody.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been shot at. You
Or
shot
you was right there and your
you
friend
was
got
right there. Yeah, you've been watching death since you was 10, 11, 12 years old. Like,
killed.
a lot of these dudes, like, in order, like, it's so many things that it's a symptom of society, but it's not the actual sickness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know the actual sickness, a lot of it is poverty. You know what I mean? And as long as you don't treat poverty, you are going to have that element. Because what people don't understand, I tell people all the time, there's a lot of poor white gangs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people don't, it's not glorified and they don't look like that in that manner. But them trailer park boys and them meth boys, they ain't
Those
no,
are real.
yeah.
Man.
Those are real.
But that ain't got nothing to do with color. That's poverty, dog. That's what happens when you're living in poverty. So
Yeah.
if we don't do the things to kind of like give them the other pieces, like, yeah, you can have a truce, but if you don't have no resources after the truce, it's gonna go right back to the same thing. Because
Right.
we not treating the sickness, we treating the symptoms. You
Yep.
know what I mean? But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk to people about that and get that on, get that on people's radar so they could see, like, it's a lot going on. And I think a lot of people are tired, man. A lot of people are tired of living that life, not being able to go into certain neighborhoods their whole life. You think about the super crip that that was like, oh, we can't go over there, cuz. Like, you like, damn, nigga, like, you be like, oh, let's go get some towns. Oh, nigga, we can't go over there, cuz.
We
Like,
can't go over there. Yeah.
he literally, like, I'm like, and then I'm like, I can't go nowhere with you, dog. Like,
You know what I think also, 2 points I want to make. I saw a video of a dude from Rolling 60s. He made a video. He's like, yeah, man, I'm over here on Normandy, and he was at the Louisiana Chicken.
oh yeah, Manchester. No,
Yeah, he's like, I'm over here on Manchester, bro. He's like, man, y'all missing out.
Yeah.
he's like, y'all missing out. There's some fire chicken, but he was
we can't even go over there. Yeah,
he's speaking to, like, we got this truce. It's all good right now. It's good. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I also think, like, just that mindset of we can't go over here and we can't go over here. That's a systemic thing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember being younger and my first time going to Hollywood and just going on that side of town and how that felt weird. You know what I mean? Like, just to be driving through those neighborhoods, like, man, I don't feel comfortable. Like, why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those imaginary boundaries that this system has placed on us. You know what I mean? To keep us bound in one area, and if you bound in one area, then you don't have the luxury of seeing things that will make you want to leave those areas, seeing big houses and nice cars and all these other things that motivates you to want to leave the conditions that you in.
Well, and it's funny.
Exposure.
It's kind of like that meme that people have where you have the horse and he's being held by a plastic chair with a rope around it. Like,
Yeah.
you can leave that plastic chair, but because he's been taught, when I got this rope around me, I can't go nowhere. And there's a lot of dudes in the hood who got that invisible rope around them, right? Like, they don't think they can travel. Some dudes who literally been in the neighborhood their whole life ain't been on the outside of Wilshire. They ain't been on the other side of La Brea. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about, I ain't talking about getting to Vegas. I'm talking about literally going past Wilshire. They've been like, they're this little square that they feel like they stuck in their entire lives because of the life they live. And, God forbid, like, what happens most time, they get a girl that's in another neighborhood.
There it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the one way you get them out of their comfort zone. They like, well, I can't live in her house because she in that neighborhood. We can't live in mine, so I got to get a new house. That prompts them to, like, I got to get it together. You know what I mean? But it's like, again, I want the truth to work, man. I want the youngsters to pay attention, and I want it to hold. But again, we got to have the resources for these guys. And I think, I know Skip Townsend is a big part of it. And Skip is really smart, and Skip is really big on, like, the resources and the components, because he works in that, he works in that area. So I'm sure he's thinking about those things. I'm hoping to get him on the show soon too as well, because I want to talk to him about it directly and talk about like these resources and things, because I think it's very important, because I tell people all the time, I think just being a black man in America, no matter how good you think your life is, I think we all should have therapy. I think all black men in America need therapy,
Mhm.
just based on what we're living. You know what I'm saying? Like just based on, you know, yeah.
I want to add to that too. Um,
So my dad said he said he wanted to touch up. So we grew up on Florence and Normandy, right? Right around the corner from Reginald Denny got pulled out the car. We was like literally could watch it. We watched it from the corner of our, could watch it from the corner of our street. And he said it's sad that we grew up there, we were nurtured there, we were born and bred of that neighborhood, but we can't even go back just for our own safety. We can't go really hang out. We can't
right,
really go give back to the place that nurtured us, because you see things that happen, like what happened with Nipsey, what happened with Dolph, what happened, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a sad thing too, because when you do have those guys who have a success, it's hard to come back, because you want to come back and show like, hey, I'm from where y'all from, and look what I did.
what I did.
And Tyrese was just saying, he was like, yo, somebody is jealous of you when you just got a little more EBT than them. So
Yep.
imagine what it's like if you really done got your life together and got up out of there and you come back. Like, they think he's showing off by coming back. And I'm like, no, I want to show you that I come from exactly from where y'all came from. And because I did this music thing, I was able to travel the world. I was able to fly to France. I was able to fly to London. You know what I mean? And we are literally from the same place and had the same amount of resources. So let me help you figure out how to do what I did. Because, and Prince, we talk all the time. I'm always just I'm not a person who tries to gatekeep the game that I have or the things that I learned, or if I have like, even when it comes to like back in the day, when I don't know if y'all know this, but back in the day when producers used to have drums and stuff, they be like, you can't get my drum. I used to be like, hey, I got a new disc with drums. Like, I feel like you
Yeah,
ain't what I'm gonna do with the drums and the samples anyway. So I'm always trying to give game. I'm always trying to, and I think we need more of that. But I also think the flip side of that is some people feel like, yo, I got to hold on to this tightly because
Yep.
I got it and it's mine, it's all mine. If I let somebody else in it, they're gonna take my piece, because we kind of taught that it's not enough for everybody. We taught that's only enough for a couple of us to get out.
Mhm.
When this is a huge world, man, there's really enough for everybody.
it's crazy, bro, that you say that because I remember I told you I work in the field of people with mental disabilities and like developmental disabilities and things like that, and it's the same exact thing, right? You have some people who come from institutions, right? And in these institutions, you have we call them individuals, residents, things like that, right? In these
Yeah,
institutions, bro, they have other residents stealing each other food and things like that, right? So what happens is when they come out of these institutions and they move into homes, they still carry that. So it's like I got to eat my food fast. I got to do all of these different things quickly because you don't take what's mine. I
mm-hmm.
know it because that was my experience. You know what I mean? And what I learned is that we learned like there's four functions of behavior, right? And that's what automatic, that's access to tangibles, that's sensory, and that's escape, right? Every behavior is motivated by those four functions, right? And that's in everybody. You know what I mean? And you touch on therapy. So it's like I feel like therapy has to happen first in that way. We need to understand what behavior is, what motivates behavior, and how to,
Yep.
combat those things when we see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we need those tools, right? Like, a lot of us don't have the tools to even deal. Because I tell people all the time, I'm like, because people like, a lot of black folks is like, Jesus is my therapy, and that. I said, look, it ain't nothing wrong with having religion, believing in God, having your faith. I said, but God put doctors here for a purpose as well. You
You
know what
got
I
to do
mean?
the work.
Yeah, yeah, but and I said therapy is to give you tools to deal, and especially with so many black men who have been emotionally stunted, right?
Right.
Like, our growth has been emotionally stunted. To be able to have somebody to help you navigate, to help you get to your emotional maturity, and you be like, oh, I didn't even know that this thing from my childhood was stopping me from moving in this direction. I didn't know that this was affecting my relationships now. This thing with my dad, or this thing with my mom was affecting the way, you know what I mean? Like there's things that we don't have the capacity to know. And like that's why I said I feel like we all need to have therapy. Like I push therapy all the time. It's so funny because I have people who like will inbox me like, bro, you talk about therapy with no shame, and I haven't seen nobody do that. Do you have a number to a therapist? And da da da. And I was like, damn, I didn't think it would reach people like that. But that's the reason I kind of did it. I was like, I want to kind of take that stigma off of us feeling like, oh, if you have therapy, you crazy or something wrong, or as they say, oh, that's some white shit. I'm like, no, that's not white shit. Like it's some life shit. You know?
You're right.
So you know, you want to. The mindset you want to find out anything wrong with the adult, the answer is always found in their childhood, and that's real because things that like I tell people all the time, like our adulthood is through the lens of things that happened to us as a kid. Like the way we deal with our adulthood, right? Is through certain. If you ain't dealt with certain things that you had coming up as a kid, you can't let that go. That's how your lens is always going to be. And if you're dealing through a lens of trauma, your life is going to have a lot of trauma if that's your lens. And it's not even your fault. That's the cold part.
Right.
That's the cold part. It's not even your fault. Like you was just a kid being a kid and got caught up in a traumatic lifestyle, or your family had trauma, or where the neighborhood you grew up in had trauma. But because of that, now you deal from a trauma base, like your base, your foundation of how you deal with emotion, how you deal with people, how you deal with life is from trauma. You know what I mean? And if you don't have the tools to unpack that shit, it can really like lead and guide your whole life. You know what I mean? So that's why I think it's very important, man, that we have that. And you know, and that brings me to like, you know, the next thing that we were talking about, you know, me and Prene, we had a great inbox conversation. I want to, before we start, because the last 2 weeks, go ahead, Pop. What you want to say? Pop right here. He giving us the chime in. Damn. He said one of the biggest things that's been happening with a lot of these youngsters coming up is nobody ever even told them that they loved them.
Oh.
And the simplest thing that changes your entire life. And I've had people say, my mom ain't never told me she loved me. I'm like, what? Like that, because that shit unfathomable to me. They're like, yeah, like they be like, my family don't hug. My family ain't what they say, like my family ain't emotional. My family don't do that. I'm like, yo, bro, that's not normal. But that's like the life that a lot of people are out here living. Demar said, fight or flight always, and don't have to be coping. Don't have to find the coping mechanisms folks know without therapy for sure. Yeah, there's some people who know, but there's a lot of people who just don't know. There's a lot of people who, there you go, affectionate. Thanks, Red. Yeah, a lot of people like, my family ain't affectionate, because I know people would think me and my family was weird. They'd be like, you be with your family all the time? You kick it with your brothers? I'd be like, what? You kick it with your cousins? Y'all whole family be together all the time like that? That's weird to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's weird to people that like, yeah, man. Like,
you
tell your brothers you love them. You tell your homeboys you love them. I'm like, yeah.
That's how you know the disconnect is at home. That's where it started.
Well, you know what? A lot of it, the disconnect is, I think a lot of stuff we were taught as black men, if you do this, that's soft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do that, that's soft. And like, we literally had to break ourselves out of that shit.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I literally had to be like, yo, I gotta start telling my homeboys I love them, because I do. And we've been together for years and years. Together, and I never told this dude I love him. I've been in his wedding, and I've been, you know, godfather to his kids.
Been hanging out with him, eating with him, going out with him. Yeah,
you know,
meeting everybody.
I probably never told my homeboy I love him though. I love everybody in his family. Then told all the, you know what I'm saying? Nikki said, she said, actually, Dame, our families are the rarity, not the norm. Damn, you right.
That's true.
You're right. Because her family's the same way. So she recognizes it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what makes that worse too? Social media.
Yeah.
Social media makes you comfortable with that distance. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I seen bro online. Like, he good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
because you saw him online, you're not thinking I should go see him or I should go pull up and let's go hoop. Let's go grab a bite to eat. Let's go bowl, something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? And like because I've got to the point where I try, like if I see or I feel like somebody making posts and something hurting, I go to the inbox and I'm like, dog, you good? Like if you want to vent, you can hit me. You want to go grab a drink? Because I know sometimes you just need somebody at that moment. Somebody at that moment to just say, hey, you good? And then that makes you feel like, oh shit, somebody do care. Because if you having one of the moments where shit is dark and you feel like nobody just don't care, I'll be like, I'll make it my point, even if we ain't that close. Like, hey, you good, dog? If you need to holler, you need to talk. And you know, sometimes, like you said, social media get us okay with that disconnect. Like, oh, we pass memes every day. But yeah, but are you talking to them asking, are they good?
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Like, are you having real life conversations with them? Like, yo, what's going on with you, bro? You all right?
Right.
And it's funny because sometimes when I do that, I end up getting like, oh, I didn't know. None of that was going on. Because, you know, Black men, we suppress everything. You know what I mean? But then sometimes you get to the conversation, like, yo, thank you. I just needed to talk. Da, da, da. And people remember that and they appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You've reached out to me before, bro. So I mean, I can vouch for that. Like you've hit me before, like in the messages, like, hey, bro, you straight? Like I've seen that message, bro. Like you know what I mean? And you know, like that post or whatever. And yeah, so I agree, bro. Like we need to do more of that. You know what I mean? And I'm really appreciating just this live right now because it's opening my eyes to some things. You know what I mean? That just being more active in people's lives. Like sometimes we just only focus on our own, what we going through, and we kind of just condense and we stay there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But we are important to people, whether they say it, you know what I mean, or not. Like
Yep.
there's people that need to hear from us. There's people that needs that encouragement from us. You know what I mean? Like it's different when it's coming from Dang. You feel me?
Yeah.
It's different when it's coming from Rex. It's different when it's coming from whoever. Like
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and like I can't take credit for. I learned that from my pops. Like my pops ain't on social media. My pops literally calls everybody. Text. He can't text, so he calls everybody on the phone. Like people will hit me like, "Your pops is he always check on me," and that means a lot to them. I'm like, you know what? I need to start doing more of that. Just checking on folks. You good? You all right? Like pops, make sure he checks in with almost
Everybody.
make his rounds. You know what I'm saying? But
Bruh,
I think that's important because you catch somebody in the moment and they start talking to you and you like, oh damn, I ain't even, I'm glad I called you. My brother said for the last 3 years, I told myself if I think of someone, I call or reach out. I do the same thing. I've been trying to do the same thing. Like if you cross my mind, I'll hit them. Like, yo, you good? Like you just been on my brain. I just wanted to, and it's a lot of times there's a reason. Said that there's a reason. And my pop said you can't text emotion. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you do. Sometimes you need to hear my voice. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to, and like I was telling friends before the cameras rolled, I said, I used to get on posts and be getting into it with people about stuff that we disagreed with. And now, like, I know a lot of that ego come out, macho shit come out, and now we're not having a conversation. Now we just trying to one up each other. Now we, you know what I mean? And I said, because of that, I said, you know what? If I feel like there's my brother, somebody who's my brother who I respect, I said, I'm gonna hit you in the inbox and we'll talk about it there. Let's me and you have a one-on-one because even in real life goes so much better when you have a one-on-one conversation than, hey, can we talk on the side, as opposed to trying to step somebody in front of everybody and trying to go big, as we say. Going big changes everything.
Yeah. It breaks relationships, friendships.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I have some broken friendships because of that exact thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now when I look back on it in hindsight, it's like, damn, like that was so stupid, bro. Like
our egos got the best of us a lot of times, and I'm just glad that as I've gotten older, I can kind of recognize like when I was on some ego bullshit. I need to go fix that. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have did that in a different way. I could have had that conversation, or even if they was on some ego shit, I could have responded in a different way.
Right.
Because sometimes you realize when people be tripping, I'm like, a lot of times that don't even really be about you. That be about them and something that they going through, and they project it onto you. And sometimes we got to recognize, like, hey, they going through something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like I said,
Gotta have more compassion for each other.
more grace. Yeah,
Yeah,
we gotta have more
more
compassion
grace.
and more grace. So that's why, you know, it's funny because when I first got on your post, he was like, "I ain't changed my mind." Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, bro, I can shit you tomorrow." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, "All right, all right, for sure." I said, "Never mind." You know, but I was like, you know what? Because I was like, I'm still, you know, I'm gonna still hit my guy up. You know what I'm saying?
But you know why I felt like that? You know what I mean? Because it's like what you say. Like sometimes when we post, we get so much energy from just different places, and they feel like attacks.
Attack. It felt like an attack.
Sometimes it might be that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Some people that you don't know like that and things like
Yeah.
that. So I was just in a full defense, like you know what I mean. And my bad, bro. My
Oh
apologies.
no, it's all good. Cause like I said, we talk about. I like I said, I recognize what it was. You know what I'm saying? So instead of me like furthering that energy, I was like, all right, bro, never mind. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I'm not trying for us to even get no parts of us to take it there. I was
Right.
like, but I was like, I'm still gonna hit your inbox anyway. You know what I mean? I said, because
I
you my guy.
appreciate that.
Yeah. I said you my guy. So that brings us to our next point. I want to preface this in saying my dude is not a Trump supporter because the last 2 weeks we've had actual black Trump supporters on. All right. So I want to preface to say my man is not a Trump supporter, but he's one of the people that I've been talking about in the last couple of shows who have kind of felt the way about a lot of the things that the Democrats have been doing. And he's not alone. And that's the reason I wanted to talk to you, because I felt like there is a swath of black men that have been feeling the way you have been feeling and have been expressing it, and then been at the same time been getting caught up in this misinformation from the Trump side, the MAGA side of things. But I know it's specific, and that's why I wanted to talk to you on the show, because I wanted to kind of dissect how you got there, right, and how you got to like getting the information that you got. Because I know before, I want to say a year and a half ago, Trump said he's going after young black men.
Right.
He said that specifically, like I'm going after the. So that's why when you see Trump saying certain shit you heard black dudes say in the barbershop, I was like, oh, that's crazy, because that's on purpose. Him saying Kamala Harris not black, we've heard that from the niggas in the barbershop. You know what I mean? Like he ain't pulled that out of his ass. Some dude around him is like, this is what's going on in the streets. So that's the stuff he's trying to grab on, saying her name wrong, saying she arrested people for weed, and like all the stuff that he's saying is rumors and stuff that's been in the black dichotomy. And he's been kind of pulling it out and using it as his attack dog. And I say, so I'm watching, and it's like a social experiment, because I'm like, this is interesting, because he'll say all of this stuff but be contradictory with his policy to all of the things he's saying, right? Like all the things he's saying is contradictory to his policy. Like, and I'll give you just a couple examples, like how he said, like, oh, she arrested all these black people for weed, da da da. But he wanted to keep weed as a Schedule A in the federal, you know, and Kamala has tried to make it legal, like it's legal in California. They tried to make it legal nationally and then remove it as a Schedule A drug from federal. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting, because he's saying one thing, but his policy is doing another. And then on the other end, he's talking about, you know, she's the police, because he tried to use that, right? Because I think they've been having a hard time trying to figure out how to attack Kamala, right? Like they've been like, it's been like weird watching them flailing, because he usually can put something on you, Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe. He could put something on you and it stick. He can't get nothing to stick on her right now. So it's been interesting. So he was like, she the police. But then I see that he says, well, he wants to give federal immunity to all cops. No matter what they do in the uniform, they can't be charged. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, for me, I don't give a damn what the rest of his policy is. That right there is a non-starter, because I know that's going to affect us more than anybody else. You know what I mean? But I'm like, okay, outside of that, let's keep going. So it's like I was watching him go after people like you, who he knows are frustrated and knows that there are things that are bothering you about the Democrats that can make you feel like, you know what, maybe I need to go check in over there, because he's saying all the right things. But then when you go read his policy doesn't reflect the things he's saying. And it's funny, because he's been going through it this week with women, right? Because he put the justice on the course to stop Roe v. Wade, And he been going hard. Like, I'm the one who stopped Roe v. Wade, and they seeing how that's killing his campaign. And then all of a sudden he posted on his Truth Social, I'm gonna be the best president ever for reproductive rights. What? And then they asked him about, because he lives in Florida, and they like about to vote on a law to where you can't get an abortion after 5 weeks. And most people know you don't even find out you're pregnant before 5 weeks. So they asked him, and he was like, 5 weeks is enough time. I don't think 5 weeks is enough. And then all his people jumped on his back, like, nah, bro, you supposed to be pro-life. You can't be straddling the fence. But I'm seeing like he's flailing at that, and like he's getting caught up and trying to figure out how to say the right thing to get the vote. And again, like I told you, Prance, when we were in the inbox, I was like, I vote policy over person. Like, since I became a registered independent, and since I had the chance to actually work on some actual campaigns and see the behind the scenes and see how it really, really works, I was like, you know what? We don't have to talk about if they Democrat or Republican. Let's talk about what their policies are and how they affect us. And there's two different kind of voters too, right? There's the voter like me who votes for everybody, and then there's the other voter who like, I'm voting specific to me and what I need. You know what I mean? Like, so if the cops gonna be beating niggas' asses, oh well, that ain't me. You know what I mean? So there's two type of voters. So you have to understand who you're talking to as well when you're having these conversations. Because if you're talking to somebody who's individualistic, y'all not even gonna be on the same page off jump when you're having a conversation about the things that's been bothering you. But first, let's roll out the things that's been bothering you about the Democratic Party. Let's unpack that first.
The main thing was I was just looking at what was going on with the border, right? And all these videos of what's going on in Colorado, and I think now Texas, San Francisco, and Chicago, with, you know, immigrants and like the Venezuelan gangs and all of these things taking over buildings and kidnapping people and just forcing their way in people's homes and things like that. That day I posted that, I had just saw some things, and it just kind of frustrated me because I'm like, man, I don't see this on the news. I don't hear nobody talking about it. Like, what's happening like right now? Like, what is this administration doing about that? You know what I mean? Because it's not going to be too long before, you know, it's in our backyard. You know what I mean? There's already been groups of immigrants that's been robbing people in Los Angeles, California, and all of that, right? So for me, that was like the main thing. Like, what's gonna happen with that? You know what I mean? What's the purpose of just allowing that to just, you know what I mean, happen? Is it a political thing? We don't want to speak on it because we don't want to offend a certain group. Is it I don't know, bro. Like, that was just like the main trigger for me, you know.
And it's valid though. I think that's valid, right? So let's start there. I think your concern and what you're talking about is valid. Because I know like the number that's been thrown around is like, oh, there's 8 million immigrants coming in. Right. So I had to explain to a few people, like, no, 8 million encounters at the border does not mean 8 million people got in. And right. I hate that the people on Fox News and the people on the right-wing media use that number knowing that they're, you know, misleading people. Because like I told you, the actual number is 2.3, which I still think is a lot, but I think it's a far cry from 8 million, like 2.3 million that actually got in. And for people who don't know, when they say encounters at the border, encounters mean like, friends, if you come to the border 3 times and we turn you away 3 times, that you count as 3 encounters.
Right.
If Rex comes 4 times and we turn him 4 times, then that counts. So we already talking about 7 encounters between 2 people.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you hear 8 million encounters, you feel like 8 million people came. That's not really the case. It's just the amount of times they made contact with people at the border. But I do think there is something to be said about the issue at the border. But I do want to add context to that as well, because I think Trump is getting this weird get out of jail free card for the 4 years he was president, just because he acted like he was hard on the border. But like, that wall ain't up. My man had 4 years. That wall ain't up.
True.
You know what I'm saying? The border didn't get better under him. Like, he just did some wild shit. He was just like, I'm just going to arrest everybody, throw them in the cages, so it looked like I'm going hard. You know what I mean? But like, he didn't do better with the criminals. Like honestly, one thing Kamala, she does have on her record, she actually has arrested transnational criminals coming across the border. Like she can actually say she's prosecuted though. So I tell people, I'm like, if the border is really an issue for you, I want you to dig deeper. And this is what I was telling you about the James Langford bill. Before that bill got passed, Republicans were so happy because they said that was the toughest immigration bill that they have had in 30 years.
Mm.
The toughest immigration bill they had in 30 years, and it was the first one that was going to be bipartisan, because one of the big fights with the immigration bill was Democrats kept trying to tie other funds to it, and the Republicans was kicking back on that. They were like, all right, we'll pass this immigration bill if you add Ukraine aid to that bill. We'll pass this immigration bill if you add COVID aid to that bill. So finally the Democrats were like, you know what? Don't shut the government down, and we'll give you that immigration bill without attaching anything else, just the way y'all wrote it, just the way y'all like it. So the Langford bill, written by a conservative Republican, written by one of their guys, that was gonna add 115,000 border patrol officers. It was going to add more x-rays at the border to stop fentanyl from getting over. It was going to add like all these deterrents that are better than the wall, like actual deterrents to stop people from being able to cross the border, because a lot of it actually happens underground. So they were going to add all these different pieces, and they were about to vote on it, and Trump called and said, y'all can't pass that bill because I need the border to run on for the election.
Okay.
So when he killed that bill, because he knew he didn't have anything else really of substance to run on against them besides the border, until he started running on inflation. Like he ran on inflation and the border, right? That's it. The only two things he's running on are inflation and the border, right? But to me, I feel like if you really did care about the border and you really did care about the people of America, you wouldn't have squashed that. You would have ran on something else. You wouldn't have squashed that for political purposes. You know what I mean? Especially if you said it's such a huge problem and they finally gave you everything you wanted, and you was like, yeah, but no, you got to sign it under me, not him. So I'm like, so you don't really care about the border.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this shit is a game to you, but it's real to you, Prince.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
it's a few things, like, just so I'm clear, like I got beef with both sides. I'm like kind of like floating where it's kind of like where I'm almost giving up, you know what I mean, on just this government just in general. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like when Biden got in office, I remember like the whole Ice Cube thing, right?
Yeah.
How he wanted to meet with Biden or whatever. That didn't happen. And then I remember Biden talking about the whole reparation thing. And then the first thing he did when he got in office was he signed they did the whole Asian crime bill thing. And I'm just like, we was like fresh off of George Floyd, and like just that whole year was just like.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So
you know what I mean? Like,
let's talk about that. No,
but also like,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't have the information. I don't have all the information.
Right. So that's what I said. Let's talk about that, right?
So like when you hit me in my inbox and you started showing me things, it was like eye-opening. You know what I mean? My reactions was just based off of like what I'm seeing, you know what I mean, in real time. And it's like, man, what is this? And
that's purposeful, bro. That's what I'm saying. That's purposeful. And that's why I said I don't blame you for feeling the way you feel and for feeling triggered by those things, because it was set out to make you feel that way, right? It was specific to try to grab you, to give you that reaction that you had. So I'm glad you brought up they call it the Asian hate crime bill, when it's really the COVID-19 bill, right? So what a lot of people don't know, and like I said, I'm really glad you brought this up. A lot of people don't know that bill didn't really sign anything new into law. That bill just basically made a new job for somebody to go and try to figure out how to stop Asian hate crimes that were happening, because people was calling it the China virus and people was getting beat up because they was Asian. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what it basically did. It created that, but it was based off of the '68 Civil Rights Bill. because you know the only bills that were signed into law that actually had new law, besides the Matthew Shepard bill, which I think was more for like LGBTQ in '93, but the 1964 civil rights bill, which was made for black people, and there was another bill in '94. I forgot the guy's name, but there was another black guy who a bill was made for him for hate crimes around the same time as Matthew Shepard in the '90s. So when people was like, "Where's the black people bill?" I'm like, "We have our bill already."
I saw that today on what's his name? Black heavyset dude. He always in the news.
Roland Martin.
Roland Martin. He
Yeah,
spoke on that. He was checking Tyrese or something.
yeah,
About
yeah,
information
yeah.
that Tyrese was putting out there, and I was just like, wow, I didn't know that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no,
not to the extent of what he was like breaking it down. It was like, oh, okay, like, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, and that's what I say. A lot of us just don't have the information, right?
Yeah.
So and they're banking on us not knowing this information. That's my thing. They're banking on us not knowing. They're banking on us being lowly educated about the process. And they try to use the process to keep us confused, use the process to keep us from knowing what's. So that's why I really started digging and diving into the process, because I was like, look, everybody don't watch CNN, everybody don't watch Fox. A lot of people get their news on social media. Everybody get news probably from their timeline. So I was like, you know what? Let me dive in. So when something happens on either side, I can have the conversation. And I'm gonna tell you the craziest thing, Pran. When I do have conversations with, I would say, so-called Trump supporters, when I do have conversations with them, a lot of times, bro, I know more about Trump's actual policy than they do.
Yeah.
Like when they start, I'm like, and ask Rex, when I have him on the show, I say, okay, well, just tell me a couple of his policies that you really like, and let's talk about that. Oh man, he be talking shit, man. I like the way he be talking shit. He don't give a fuck. He say what I'm like, that's not a policy.
What sense does that make?
Yeah, these immigrants up out of here, da, da, da. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then when I tell them about the Langford bill, they be like, yeah, but man, he talk harder than the Democrat. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, so you just like his personality. You don't actually like his policy. You like his personality because you feel like he don't give a fuck. Even though I was like, it's weird to see black men try to connect with that, because I'm like, we can never be that. We can never behave like that. We can never, like, so you connecting with some shit that you can never be. You can never get to be president and act like this nigga. Like, you can't get to be president and ramble talking about electrocuting sharks. Would you rather be electrocuted than by a shark? What? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he be saying, like I said, because I tell people, I said, bro, I try to watch both sides. So when I'm having these conversations, I can have them in an educated way. Because what happens is so many times you get people. I saw this on your post too, Prince. You kept saying, "Give me some policy." What Trump gonna do? That's not what I asked you. Give me her policy. You like Trump? That's not what I said. Give me some of her, and they could not. And that's why I said I understood. I'm like, I get it. I was like, because if I hadn't came in, you would have had the same impression that she don't have policy, because all of her so-called supporters would not talk about policy when you was asking. And I was like, damn, this is interesting to watch as well. You know what I mean? So like I said, I try to make sure I read bills. I try to make sure I read what both sides are saying. I'll watch some liberal news. I'll watch some middle news. I'll watch some far right news, because I want to be educated on all sides when I'm having this conversation. So I am telling you something, like, I'm not coming from like a silo, because so many of us are in a silo. We're in a Democratic silo, we're in a Republican silo, or I just don't care silo, where it's just like I only listen to what confirms my bias. You know, we're in a confirmation bias society. I'm only going to listen to what confirms what I already want to feel. That's what's been happening a lot with the news, and you're going to watch the stuff that makes you feel like, and that's why I was like, Trump gets to get away whatever he says without going unchecked, because he's talking specifically to the people that feel that way already.
Right.
So if he's talking to people that feel that way already, they're like, yeah, even if he's lying, I'm with that shit.
I have a question. How do we get, like, because when you hit me, bro, you backed up everything you said. You know what I mean? You had information, boom, 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 boom. You know, how do we get people informed? You know what I mean? Because there is a lot of people out there that's just kind of like, he talked better, or he, you know what I mean? Like
She
he's
black. I'm voting for her because she black, or you know what I'm saying, on both sides.
right. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Well, I think one, having more conversations like this, right? I think this is one of the first steps, and the reason I be want to have conversation with you too, because I feel like your page is kind of like mine. I like a lot of people pay attention to what you say. You know what I'm saying? I was like, so that's why I'd be like, yo, bro, I just want to give you
Told
the
me before
information.
about
Yeah,
my platform and being responsible with my platform.
yeah, and I think it's very important when because a lot of times we don't realize the voice we have.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like we don't realize the voice we have, and then you realize like I run into people in the streets, like how we on this live right now, and people not really commenting. I run into people who's like reciting the whole show to me, and I didn't know they was watching.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like people be like, "Oh, I saw y'all on y'all live, and you said this, you said that. Thank you for saying this, and thank you for saying that." And I'm like, "Damn, I didn't even see you on there. Your name didn't pop up." So I know that more people are watching than we know sometimes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So that's why I think it's important for us to like not take for granted the voice that we have, because the voice that we have is very important. And I think it starts with conversations like this, right? And then when I give you information, you can now go share with people, and you can share with people from a perspective of like, look, I'm just giving you the information.
Right.
Do what, because a lot of time when people feel, black folks, when they feel like we telling them what to do,
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
that's gonna piss you off more, and,
Don't
and
tell
make
me
you
what
try
to
to go the
do.
opposite way even more. So I
Right.
try to approach from like, hey, I'm just gonna give you the information
And you do
without
whatever you want with it.
without any commentary. Because what I do, you print, I gave you with no commentary. I said, boom, here's the policy, here's the source, here's another source to prove it, and these sources aren't from a news channel. These sources are either from the Department of Justice or the State Department. Like we're strictly the stats and the numbers, because people can't argue with that. You know what I mean?
What's interesting, bro? Like, we come from the era before all of this social
Yeah.
media. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting to see like the difference between like what it was before. Like we didn't know. We had to rely on really strictly the TV.
The
Like
news.
how did you find out about this policy or this, and you know what I mean, this bill and things like that without having the internet? But then the internet in the same instance is
With
like
the gift and the curse.
yeah, it's a different occurrence. You know
With
what I
the gift
mean?
and
And
the
I feel
curse.
like this is a new time. Like 2020 was just kind of like a year like just information. And I feel like
Mhm.
from that
Yeah.
point on, it's just been like we was learning about more about stocks and all kind of stuff was just happening. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. Like more of these needs to happen for so people can see and be more informed. You know what I mean? Or else they're just gonna be whatever Twitter say, whatever Instagram say, whatever, you know what I mean? And we're being played.
And you know what's crazy? The
Right.
algorithm is gonna catch hold to what you want. So if that's what you want, the algorithm gonna keep showing you that.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
gonna keep feeding you that. Like, oh, this what you want? You want some F them over there? All right, we're gonna keep feeding you that. We're gonna keep
Right.
showing you that. So then that becomes your timeline. That becomes all you have, right?
Dangerous.
Stephanie, she said we don't realize the voice we have, nor do we know the level of people who are actually paying attention to what we're saying either. And that's the truth. Because that's
Facts.
what I said. Like, I know from just over the years and knowing Prens, I'm like, you know, a lot of people in and outside of the industry, and you have a lot of people like I'll see your page and I'm like, oh, people really listening to what he say, or they'll tap in. Like, you know, if you say something they don't like, oh, they're gonna jump on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, because of that, that's why I'm like, hey, bro, you gotta understand the responsibility that you have.
Yeah.
Eat trees in the house. You gotta understand the responsibility that you have with your platform. I had to learn it. Right? Like that's something that I even had to learn. I was like, oh, people really be listening to us. Because I remember when there was an election and we didn't do a show during the election, people was like, bro, I didn't even know what props was because y'all usually go through all the propositions. Because you know those propositions be worded so weird
Yeah.
that you think you're voting for one thing and it'll say you think you're voting yes, but like no, the way they wrote it, you should have voted no to make that a yes.
Yeah. Like with
Voting, boy.
the what was that proposition about Rent control.
Yep,
Right?
the rent
That
control
rent-
and the Uber one, the one about
Yep.
Uber. A lot of people thought they was voting to keep it where your Uber was the same, and now they done changed it to where you're a contracted worker and you got to do 1099s and all that.
Mhm.
And then it affected the gig workers too. Remember they called it the gig worker economy. So now bands, like sometimes as a band, we can't get paid for over a month now because of that law. Because we had to run everything through this system, like you know what I mean. So people were calling me like, y'all didn't do a show, and I was like, damn, I didn't realize that. But they were like, well, you talk to me in a way that the news don't talk to us, so I can understand what's really happening and what's really going on. So I just like, all right, well, let me talk to my people who I know can spread it, and hopefully we can continue to spread it. But I also think that people do need to start trying to educate themselves more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do think there's a way to do it too, to where you don't get caught up in this algorithm, because it's hard, because the algorithm will show you everything you think you know it looks right. They set it up the right way. If they set it up the right way and put the right font on it and put that you know saying that right cryon on it, you're gonna think, oh, this is true. It got to be true because it feels like the news. It looks like the news. So it'll feel true to you, because like how you was talking about things we've been programmed to for years. It's the same thing now, right? We're programmed to seeing the news a certain way. So if something looks like or feels like the news, it'll feel like it's right, even if it's like not a real thing. Like somebody shared this weekend, there was like a thing going around that Tiger Woods said Kamala Harris was fake. And it was like literally real news stations started posting on, like, and then they found out it was from a parody site like The Onion, but it had caught on so tough and been retweeted. People thought Tiger Woods really said it. So that's why I was like, and that's where we are. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where we are, where a not real story can get picked up by the actual mainstream news because it blows up so big without nobody fact checking it. And my brother said it's an ADHD generation, so they won't research, which is why Trump shenanigans are working. And he knows it. And he knows it. That's why I said, like, he's when he said he was specifically targeting young black men, I knew he was targeting the disgruntled black man who feels like the Democrats haven't been paying attention to them, who feels like the Democrats have put black women above black men. Like, I know exactly who he was targeting with information that he was putting out and saying. And the other interesting thing is I know when that target has been hit, because everybody kind of says the same thing, right? They're saying the same thing, like, oh, the border and they letting 8 million people over. It's like literally like the same numbers, the same stats are being used. And I'm like, ooh, that's
You know how many people are argue about Kamala? That's right.
Yep, Kamala. Yeah, that's right.
Kamala Harris ethnicity. Like, I really did extensive research. You know what I mean? And like, I argue with people every day about this. She not black and she blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, you know where Jamaica is? Do you know what an Afro Jamaican is? Do you know like all of these different things that really breaks it down? Like, I really had to because I wanted to know for myself. I'm like, why do you keep saying this? You know what I mean? I went and did my research, and I'm like, wow, like this is really a narrative that's being spun, and it's being spun because they know that people is not going to go. They're not going to do the research, bro.
No. Even bigger. Let's take it down to a more practical sense. This is a question I ask people. I said, do you feel like the Greek freak is a black man? Yeah.
No.
Greek freak is a black man, but she not black? That's from Greece. He not even no, he ain't grow up in America, no parts. But if I ask anybody, you think the Greek freak is a black man? Yeah, that's a black man. That shit. Then if that's your baseline answer, Kamala Harris is a black woman.
Right.
If you want to do it that way, but even what's more than that too, I'm like, we know that we look at black. I'm talking about amongst black folks now, right? Not like what white folks say. This amongst black folks, we look at black as a culture, and like how you said you did your research. I'm like, well, if she's been living in the black culture since she was in Oakland, how can you say that woman ain't black? If we're talking about on culture, like, not just she was an AKA, because they like, just because you went to an HBCU and you was an AKA don't mean you black. It don't mean you black, but that is a part of the black experience. If you're a black person, that is a part of the black. And like, if she wasn't black, why was she the president of the Black Lawyer Student Union in college? So it's not like this narrative. They saying like she didn't act black until she wanted to be vice president, because that's the thing that I don't like, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, she's black, but she's also Indian, because they were like, well, the news says she was the first
That's a lot of us.
Exactly.
You feel me? Like that. What are we talking about here? Like,
what are we talking about, dog? What are we talking about?
and then
You know what I'm saying?
It's like, why does it matter? Let's say she wasn't black. Doesn't matter.
Right.
The grand scheme of things, when you really think about it, like, why am I even having a conversation about that?
Right.
Mhm.
And technically, she's not running as the black candidate anyway. She's just running as a candidate. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. She
It's
ain't
not
even
the
the one.
president. It's not the president of just black people. Like, it's
Right.
of
Dude.
America.
Well,
But
Prince, can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? She not just, because they like, what's she gonna do for black people? And you know, I said, look, I understand that question. If you holding the other candidate to that same,
Yeah.
if you holding him to that same account, all right. If you want to know what she gonna do for black people, cool. Now, what is Trump gonna do for black people? Hold him to that same thing. If you asking that question of her, you know what I'm saying? Like that's all I ask. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me see. Stephanie, she said, this is one of the reasons why people should not only surround themselves with other individuals who are solely like-minded. It is very important to have individuals who can teach and learn from you. Everybody does not know the same things. It's very tricky waters to only want to be around people who agree with you and what you say.
Yeah.
That's the algorithm. That's the internet algorithms.
Yeah. Demond said we ain't gonna say Halle Berry ain't black.
The ultimate black test is to get pulled over by the cops and see what happens. You'll know real quick if you're black or not.
Like, do they think you black? Period.
Yeah, that's
you
what
know,
it is.
But the fact that it's a conversation shows the propaganda behind it. You know what I mean? We're not saying, is Trump really white? Is he, you know what I'm saying? Or like, this has never happened in the history outside of Obama. You know what I mean?
Exactly. The only other black candidate.
Right. The same thing with Obama. They did the same exact attacks. You know what I mean? So
well, I feel like they do that. They do those attacks when they don't have no merit on real attacks. Like, because so there's a black conservative commentator who's on CNN that I appreciate. He kind of calls it down the middle a lot of times, even though sometimes, you know, you could tell he's trying to get his Trump talking points across. But he's his name is Sir Michael Singleton, and he was saying, like, if Trump was running on actual policy, talking about inflation and talking about the border and talking about, he said he actually would be doing better. He said, but he's not running on that right now. Right now, he's running on, she ain't black, I look better than her, I got bigger crowds. And he like, that's not important to the American people. And he's not talking to the people. And what he said, and what Kamala is doing a great job of, she's talking to the middle class, specific, being very specific. I'm doing this for the middle class. I want to build, like, I think right before we came on, I saw that she said she wants to do, it was something like it was something with homeowner. I got to look it up. I don't want to say it wrong, but something else that's going to help the middle class, right? She's starting to be smart.
You send me that.
Yeah. She's been
about small business support.
There we go. Yeah, she said she wants to do a 125,000 small business, because what people don't know, I think like 380,000 black businesses closed under Trump during the pandemic.
Wow.
Not before Biden got in, under Trump. More black businesses closed than anybody else during the pandemic. And people like Chipotle was getting PPP loans, but black businesses was being denied. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Staples Center, you getting PPP loan. Yeah. So just to give you a little scope of how he says one thing and does another, because I was telling people, like, because you talked about this too, Prene, in regards to inflation. I was like, well, you know, some of the inflation came from Trump's tax breaks and deregulating the corporations. Because by deregulating the corporations, they can charge whatever the hell they want. They ain't got no ceiling. So he deregulated corporations and taxed us more and cut their taxes. So
yeah,
so you look at the economy wise, that means the top half is getting more money than the middle half, and it's almost like the supply chain, even with that, right? Like you think about that. So, but like you said, man, the fact that we were even having a conversation about Kamala's blackness shows you how this country actually operates when it comes to race in America.
Right.
Still, the fact that Trump could get up in front of a bunch of black journalists and say that woman ain't black to a bunch of black people, like, first of all, I got to give it up to him. That nigga got a different kind of audacity. You know what I'm saying? It won't pop up, Steph, but she says they did the same thing to Barack Obama when he was campaigning. They never know what the candidates are going to do for them, so to speak. Yeah, like so. But I said that to say I want us as voters to like understand, and I don't expect everybody to be like a political nerd like me. I'm a political nerd, but I'm like, well, let me go get the information and let me break it down to y'all in a way that's easy to understand. Because a lot of this stuff, it is a lot of minutia. It's a lot of like, if I just was to go specifically over every single thing, it would be hard for the average person to be like, all they know is my damn chicken wings is $10. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Damn all that. My chicken wings is $10 and Biden president right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, but what you got to understand, a lot of this really is the effects of before. Like,
yeah, the ripple effect.
I'm not saying that they were perfect in how they handled the economy going in, but they did a good job of recovering the economy because they had to recover the economy from Trump. Trump messed up, bro, when he was acting like the
Not
pandemic didn't
enough time.
exist.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
4 years
Yeah.
is enough time. Like,
yeah. And you also got to remember, Trump inherited an amazing economy from Barack Obama. He inherited a great economy and fucked it up before COVID. You can go look at his economic numbers before COVID and they was going down. But a lot of that was because he wasn't looking at the middle class. He was doing everything for, the 1%. You know what I mean? So economically, jobs was starting to get lost because companies was like, well, we got enough money now. We can fire a bunch of people. He's not big on the union, so he don't care about union busting. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. Stephanie said, do you know the price of eggs went up $3 within the last 3.5 days? Yeah. And yeah. Inflation is global. Thank you, Demont. That's a big point. I've been trying to tell people too. Inflation is global, not just here. So you can't just pin it on this administration. That's what I was trying to say. Like, you have to Shannon said I might have to go live more, especially next month. I probably will, Shannon. I'll probably go live more to start explaining as more policy drops, as more policy comes out, and as things get a little more specific, or as they talk about we got to go live right after the debate and all that. So we'll probably start going live a little more just to keep y'all more tapped in, because I do feel that there's a lot of people who pay attention to what we're saying and it's needed. So I want to make sure we're doing this. But like I said, I wanted to get Prince on because I wanted him. I know he's been like one of the faces of the independent disgruntled voter. So I wanted to kind of get to how you got there. You know what I mean? And because a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people come from a combative place, but like, no, I wanted to really see how you got there, because I was telling somebody, I said, there's some things that the Democrats done that weren't common sense that I said I don't think is good for the party. Like the whole trying to sign a bill where the school don't have to tell the parents about them being transgender, and they could treat them for transgender, like with transgender drugs and stuff. I'm like, wow. Most Americans is not going to be with that.
Yeah,
I'm saying like that's like some outlier stuff that but they'll put it on the whole Democratic Party, right? The Democrats want to do this. The Democrats, they like we was talking about how you said, Prene, there was like a bill where they were going to start trying to give some undocumented immigrants $150,000 so they could get a house. And you was like, man, I know some hardworking, and I said this myself too, not just you. I'm not gonna put this on you. I know some hardworking folks who are born here who can't get $150,000 to get a house, right? I agree. But then also, we know this government ain't doing shit for nobody for no reason. They gonna get them undocumented and give them that money so they could tax their ass.
Yeah.
Basically, what it is how can we tax their ass because they over here and they don't have to get taxed because they are undocumented? How can we get them in the system to tax them for property, to tax them for houses, and $150,000? What's that's gonna get you in California?
And that's a money play. Now that I really like since we talked about it, and I kind of put some thought into it, and I did my own research, I just noticed wow, okay, so we're gonna let them come over, You know what I mean? We're gonna give them this, then we're gonna tax them. I could see that. Like that's that's business. You know what I mean? That's simple business.
Simple business.
You know what I mean?
Simple business. Like
Another
get them on the hook of spread.
another thing we talked about was like the affirmative action thing that happened with the last administration, right? I literally saw like black person after black person get fired at the place that I was working at, and then it became like it was maybe like 2 of us out of like 30.
Yeah,
You know what I mean, and it was
Yeah.
crazy. Like, and then like they started hiring more people, and none of them was black, bro. I never saw one candidate in like 3 years of being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and these are the policies that actually affect us,
Yeah.
right? And it's funny because as much as they want to say, "Oh, the border," yeah, but y'all other policies affect us more than the border.
Yeah.
Like y'all policies with stopping affirmative action, shutting down DEI, all of that stuff, those affect us directly, more directly and quickly than people coming across the border will. So I don't want them to get us looking the other way while they like slipping other shit. And it's funny because the Asians from Yale, I want to say it was the Asians from Yale had sued to stop affirmative action, and they won. But guess who was the only people to drop in admissions this year? Asian.
Wow. Cold game.
Because y'all thought y'all was gonna hurt black folks, because y'all was trying to say black folks was getting in, even though we was only 14%. Like, no, the white people, they gonna hold steady, the black folks hold steady, and even the Asians were the only ones that dropped. Stephanie said it's like a double-headed coin too, because they can tax them out the butt, but there's also a lot that are using social security numbers and identities that belong to other people. Yeah, and that's what I say. There, like when I say there's a lot of layers to the immigration problem, it's not just the border. Because what most people like, they said a lot of people get the most immigrants get here by flying over and overstaying their visa and just letting their visa expire. So it's not all of a border issue, but the issue is the ones who fly in here are mostly white representing migrants, so they don't care about them. You got like people coming from Sweden and Scandinavia and the Russians, like they come and they overstay, but they don't care about that because they don't look like brown people, and not just brown in regards to like Latino, but a lot of Middle Easterns come through the border.
Africans,
so you got, huh?
I said Africans as well that come into the country on student visas and shit like that, and they try to give them a hard time to get them out.
Yeah, so there's a lot of layers to this, but I just want to make sure we start to be a little more astute in how we have these conversations, and we don't let memes make up our mind for what actual policy is and what actual politics. Because I feel like that's a lot of what's happening. People just sharing memes, no matter how false it is, no matter how. And I'll tell people, I'm like, yo, that's not true. This is my page. All right, bro. Like, I really just don't want us out here looking crazy. Sharing.
I have a question, bro.
Yeah.
Is there a website that you can give to people, viewers, people that's watching, that they can get real solid information on policy and like all of the stuff that we're talking about right now?
Yeah. So this is what I'll do. Because I know I'll give y'all 2 sides to watch, right? So you're not just getting one side. So there's a couple of people you can watch. Brian Taylor Cohen. He's all over YouTube. You probably seen him, little white dude who wears suits. Brian Taylor Cohen. He talks policy all the time. And then on the other side, and I like the guy that he talks to. He talks to an actual Republican, and they're called the Bulwark. BULWARK. Watch them. And you'll get the Republican side and the Democrat side of policy, and then you can make your decisions from the middle. That's what I do. And then if you want a more black specific perspective, watch Roland Martin, because it's not just Roland. Because I know a lot of people like, because Roland, he do go hard for Democrats, but he has other people on the show like Dr. Clark who are a little more middle ground. Watch those guys. Like I said, Brian Taylor Cohen is good. The Bulwark, BULWARK, and Roland Martin. To me, you can watch those 3 and pull enough out to be like, okay, I feel like I have all the information. Right. You know what I mean? Like, because they are independent, So it's not like MSNBC, it's not like CNN, it's not like Fox, so it's not like just leaning one way. And like I said, I feel like they all break it down in their own way. So you got straight, Republicans, straight Democrats, and then the black perspective. I think if you have those three, you could be able to stay pretty informed. Let me put it in the comments too. The Bulwark. I spelled it wrong, of course. The Bulwark. Brian Taylor Cohen. And Roland Martin. Yeah, so I feel like if y'all want to rock with those three, and if I think of more, I'll post them on my page as well. But yeah, thanks for saying that, Prince, because I want people to be able to go and seek out the information. So, and also, I work for a small company called Arc Republic, who is like probably the most independent company that I've done commentary for. And they are not like, they straight up the middle to me. Like they gonna get in the Republicans' ass, they gonna get in the Democrats' ass, and it's black owned. Like truly, I know the owner. It ain't like black owned with a white person really behind it. This place is truly black owned. So follow Arc Republic, because we talk about everything. We go through policy, we go through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they have, like I said, Republican commentators, Democrat, black, black specific, and even independent on Arc Republic. And so you watch a couple of those, you'll see like those they get live. They get live on Arc Republic. So man, I want to thank everybody for like joining the show, man. This was a great, it's kind of a subdued, chill show. I like that. We ain't had to get ruckus today.
That's my favorite part.
You thought we was gonna get raw today, Prince?
Oh man, I mean, we always have great conversations, bro. So
yeah.
I'm thankful for you having me. Thank you for you guys having me. I really enjoyed. I got a lot of information as well, so appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man, we'll definitely have you back. Oh, before we get out of here, you are so right. This is why I love Stephanie. She keep us on point. Stephanie always keep us on point. Rest in peace to the legendary Fat Man Scoop. Yes. We're gonna end the show talking about Fat Man Scoop and how he is the voice of the party generation, man.
Yes.
Like he is the voice of like that last vestige of, I'm talking about in the club party until we sweating, actually dancing hard in the club. Because people
now everybody just stand around and look at each other. Like
or videotaping
was the last generation of the party. And
we was the last generation that actually like gonna grab a girl and go dance.
Yeah.
And Fat Man Scoop was like the end of that era, right? Like think about the song, the Faith Evans song, bass drop, bass dun dun dun.
Oh man,
the Sierra song. You know what I mean? Like there's so many classic Fat Man Scoop moments. Like you hear that voice, you know the party's cracking, you know the party's on. We lost a giant, man. 53 years old is a young man. It's funny how when we was like 20, we thought that was old, but as you like 53 is not. Oh, really? He said it was an accident. He didn't know it would take off like that. Yeah, because I think it was just like a little hood tape that he made, right? It was like one of them little hood tapes, and then it just went all over the world. Like I remember hearing, I remember the first time I'm in Harlem. I was in Harlem the first time, and I was like, "What is this?" And everybody in Harlem,
be quiet.
Crazy. Yeah. Oh, the song from You Got Served, classic. Drop a classic.
We'll never have another. We'll never have another.
Never. Yeah, nah.
No, like I said, man, he was him, and was it Kool Key would Let Me Clear My Throat. Those two dudes, they have like they are like the voice of that generation. Like you said, Prince, we the last generation of like hard partying in the club, like that. You Got Served era was the end of it. After You Got Served, that was it. You Got Served, had niggas in the club trying to
party.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, thanks Stephanie for bringing that up, man. Like shout out to Fat Man Scoop and prayers up to his family. And Fat Man Scoop, we thank you for all the good times that you helped us have, though, for real, in the club and in those club days, and helping us turn up. And you became a hip hop classic, my man, and you died doing the thing you love the most.
Yeah.
Died on stage, telling everybody to get their hands up. You kind of can't beat that.
Nope. What a gangster way to go out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Your last words was, if you hear the party, make some noise. Them your last words. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fat Man Scoop, end of an era, man. We losing a lot of giants, man. And
we are.
We ain't replacing. That's the cold part. We ain't replacing them. So we need to.
Man,
it's a bunch of the molds were broken when some of these people came along, man. They're like the Princes and the James Browns and shit of that, the hip hop era. They're not running the mill.
My generation is cooked.
Oh, you got little Uzi Vert, man. Come on.
Man, who the fuck? Hey, come, all right, let's go. We done now. We done. We in this now. Shit, this nigga. Hey, man, hey. Anyway,
hey, once again, I want to thank Prene for coming on the show, man. Rex, good to see you. V-Ray, I'm glad you're able to make it on Prene. We're gonna have you back if you ever want to come back on, man.
Definitely,
for sure.
Definitely. I'm down, bro.
Yeah, I would love to have you back, especially if we can get Skip Townsend on to talk about the rest of the gang, Truce too. I definitely want to have you on for that show, man. This was a great show. I feel like it was informative, and I think we did it in a way that people can, disseminate the information. So we're gonna keep at it. If y'all, as long as y'all want us to do it, we're gonna keep at it. Wild thoughts. We here for the culture, man. We here to talk about the music, the politics, everything in entertainment. We here for all of that, man. So until next time, we will see y'all next Wednesday, or I might just push the show to Thursday after the debate. So
no, we are. We should.
Yeah, or we might do Wednesday and Thursday next week.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, we might do Wednesday and Thursday because I know that debate. I hope she dog walk his ass. Because if she do the debate right,
do Wednesday to get all the other topics out the way. So Thursday will just be a debate.
Just talking about that. Yeah, good job. Yeah, we'll do that. So we'll be on Wednesday and Thursday next week, y'all, because I feel like if she dog walks him, she could end this shit early. Honestly.
Yep. You don't want that smoke with a black woman.
What did I say?
I know war words. Nah.
Dang, what I say? By the way the woman was talking, you think you gonna win? Shit.
Hey, listen, like D.L. Hughley said, he said, I've been married for 25 years and I'm owing $860,000. My pop said, a woman thinking while we sleep.
Man,
for real.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting because he was able to push old Joe around, so he thought he was, he thought he was in the game. He beat up on old Joe, man. I felt like watching Drago. You can win.
Yeah, that was sad, bro. I was like, bro.
No, hey, I was really sad watching. I felt like Drago beating up on Apollo when throwing the towel, Rock.
It felt like Shaq and Boston, like
the worst, like you at the end, you like watching them at the like damn, nigga Patrick Ewing knees in the Raptor.
Right.
That nigga had them knee braces that look like whole ass legs. It felt like watching Hakeem the Dream as a Raptor. That's what it felt.
Yo,
the Transformer.
Yeah, it seems like a transformer. Like, bro, you ain't even using your legs no more. It's all the bracelets now. That's what it felt like watching Joe that night, man. Like, damn. I knew it was over that night. If Joe didn't, I knew. I knew.
Joe didn't, I knew.
That's why I got on the phone.
Joe knew.
That's why I got on the phone, Kamala, please.
Yeah.
Take over.
Now this nigga looking like he's shooting Corona commercials. He on the beach.
Yeah. Shirt off. Like, bro, your shirt off?
Yeah. He like, nah, I could pop out at a couple of Kamala's shits, be like, yo, vote for her. We good. And he walk off stage. He's like, yeah, I'm out.
Wearing jeans and a t-shirt and shit. Nigga, show up.
Yeah.
That was Casual Friday, nigga.
Casual Friday, nigga.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for letting us slide with the super group. But we got 2 nights next week, so we're gonna come back with the super group next week. All right, so we'll see y'all, man. Again, thank everybody for joining us. Thanks, my man Prince, for being able to step on with us. It was a great show. Until next time, this has been Wild Thoughts, man. We'll see y'all in a minute.
All right.
Stop the world, let me off. I don't like this destination. I like a transfer to the express line. I gotta get off. Electric slide into the double doors of life. Things are changing and it ain't the way I like. On the replay, wish I could get a replay. Don't mean to hold ya, but I wanna do over. Gas up the ship, shoot me a text and let me know